Insperity presents the Small Business Advocate Show with Jim Blasingame, brought to you by FedEx, CareerBuilder.com, and Palo Alto Software. This is a copyrighted production of Small Business Network, Inc., all rights reserved.
We're back at 7 till. I'm Jim Blasingame. Thank you very much for being part of my day. Rick Lepsinger is our guest. Richard Lepsinger is the name on the book, Virtual Team Success. Also, Darlene DeRosa is his co-author. And we can always count on Rick to bring us really great information and research and perspectives, which he's done today. We're talking about virtual teams. And folks, as a small business, please consider having a virtual relationship. And you're going to want to do this more and more, because you're going to find people that are going to be the most qualified person may not be right under your nose, may not be in your hometown. They may be in the next state over, across the country, in another country. So more and more, even small businesses are finding that it makes sense with the technology we have today, with the way people are working. Think about starting, I don't mean go do one, for no reason. But as you're thinking about growing your business, as you're thinking about adding people, consider the virtual option. Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's right. I mean, again, one of the advantages, this whole notion of virtual teaming, is that you're able to find the best talent wherever they are, as opposed to just the pool that's near you. And it also lets you do, on the global basis, you can do work kind of 24/7. As projects move around the globe.
Absolutely.
So it really is a significant advantage around efficiency as well. But it does mean a change in behavior for the small business owner as they manage some of these remote employees. It's not the same as managing someone who's in the same office as you.
My web developer lives in Estonia. He's an American, but he lives in Estonia. So I give him, I leave work with it, and we give him instructions, and we come back the next day. He's been working all night. So
while you're asleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So it works out great. Okay, so what differentiates a successful virtual manager from one that's not so much?
Well, we took a look at that in our study, and out of that we were able to develop our RAMP model, RAMP, which stands for relationships, accountability, motivation, and purpose and process. And actually this reflects some of the things, Jim, that you were referring to before, especially on the purpose and process side, that notion of being really clear about processes for sharing information, for making decisions, for monitoring work. But the most effective virtual leaders are also able to change their behavior in a way that allows them to establish and build high-quality relationships even from a distance. And some of that is really just making time to talk with people around non-business issues. Normally when you're co-located, you bump into people. You see them by the coffee break, by the copier. But the best virtual leaders have found a way to both use technology, like instant messaging or video, and informal conversations that are not work-related to get to establish a better relationship with people.
Right, absolutely. What else did you find out?
Well, this notion of holding people accountable, the challenge holding people accountable remotely, it's out of sight, out of mind. So this whole idea of how do you ensure that people are able to fulfill their commitments. And what we found is that the most effective virtual leaders do two things. On the front end, they set people up for success. Again, as you had said, clear expectations, specific timelines and due dates, and periodic check-ins, not waiting until the task is due to check in and monitor.
And those are the things, when I talked about being rigid, it's tough to be rigid when you're a manager these days, but what I meant was in a virtual situation, you almost have to have these gates that people have to push the button and go through in order to demonstrate to the virtual manager that things are getting done. And that's what I meant by that.
Right, exactly. You need some mechanism, and that also gets at the trust piece. It's around reliability. You have to have some mechanism to know are people both doing what's expected and are they on track? When you're co-located, you can do that kind of almost by accident, just bumping into people. But virtually, you actually need a process to be able to do that.
And I also want to say again, every employee is not a good prospect to becoming a virtual employee. Some people,
Right.
I mean, you can train them, you can work on them, you can give them the expectations, but there's still people who can't do that, and you need to figure that out pretty quick.
You know, they did some work to determine like what the characteristics are
Yep.
of the most effective virtual worker.
Right.
And it's a little counterintuitive because you would think a more introverted person would
Right.
be more effective because they're okay working alone. It turns out that the more extroverted people are better working virtually because they reach out.
Right, very interesting. Hey, Rick, thanks for being here. Congratulations on the book. We'll see you next time.
Pleasure, thanks.
Rick Lepsinger. I'm Jim Blasingame. I'll be back after the news. Stay with me.
Insperity presents the Small Business Advocate Show with Jim Blasingame, brought to you by FedEx, CareerBuilder.com, and Palo Alto Software. This is a copyrighted production of Small Business Network, Inc., intended for the private use of our audience. Except as otherwise provided by copyright law, all other copying, redistribution, or publication without prior written consent is prohibited. All rights reserved.